What's up, y'all? Sam the Beard Guy here. Today we are checking out the Audient Evo or Evo Audient 16 audio interface. And so a few months ago, I needed a new interface for my studio. The one that I had been using in here, I decided to put into my travel rig. And so that one's going out to gigs, it's flying with me. So I needed a solution for in the studio. The second interface that I did have that I tried using just was not working for me. Didn't have the functionality I wanted for a studio interface. So I reached out to the Audient guys and said, hey, I need an interface. Is there anything that we can work out? And so they were very nice to send me the Evo 16. They could have sent me the 4-channel one or the 2-channel or whatever, but they sent me the rack mount, full-size interface, which was very nice of them. And so we're gonna check that out today. Disclaimer, they're not paying me to make this video. They just sent it to me and asked me to do a review on it. So I own the interface now, they can't have it back. So if I hated it, I would say I hated it because they can't have it. I'm gonna keep it regardless. Fortunately, that won't be a problem because I actually love this interface. The aesthetic is great, the functionality is great, pre's are great, everything about it. There's only one tiny complaint I have about it, but it's so minute that it's almost not worth saying, but I will say it when we get there. And so I love this interface. So hey, if y'all haven't checked out my website or you haven't subbed to my YouTube, please do that. I released a tutorial course on my website. I released an album a few months ago, a lo-fi kind of thing, all under Sam Garner, samgarnermusic.com. So if you haven't done that, go check it out. That'd be awesome. That's a big way that you can support me. It's just listening or getting the things that I put out. That's always super helpful. So let's get into the Evo. So right off the bat, the aesthetic of it, you know, you have to look at this thing every day. And so I don't think it's ever a reason to buy an interface just because it looks cool, but this one happens to just look nice. It looks modern, it's clean looking, it's not an eyesore. Features of this guy, so it's got all the same features that every interface has, plus other ones, but it's got your mic pre, so it has 8 in, 8 out. Your first 2 mic pre's, you know, with most interfaces, they have a nicer set of pre's on some of the inputs, and so your first 2 mic or line instrument inputs are they're JFETs. So if you don't know what JFET is, too long didn't read. It's a high impedance type amplifier or input, which if signal integrity is important, which it almost always is, JFET is good. And so the pre's are great. When I talked to the Audient guys, it was either they were going to send me the Evo or they were going to send me the ID series. And they basically sold me on the Evo over the ID, on the Evo just being clean, kind of a neutral pre, not a lot of color. You're just recording signal at a high quality, high integrity level. And so most of what I do, I just prefer clean inputs. I don't need color or, you know, any unique, you know, taste to what I'm recording. And so I just went with the pre or the clean pre's. And so, yeah, 2 JFETs, 8 in, 8 out. If you want to expand through optical, you get 24 in, 24 out. So if you're recording larger sessions, the expandability is there if you want to use it. There's an alt speaker functionality if you want to set up a second pair of speakers, which is easily toggable on the front. So as far as the inputs, it's really straightforward. You plug them in, you press the number of the input that you want to adjust. You can set gain structures, phantom power, mic line level. Really straightforward, very easy to use. I think one of the coolest things about this interface on the input side is the smart gain function. And so smart gain, all it is you plug everything in you want to record, you hit smart gain, select the input that you want to smart gain, and then after 20 seconds of playing, it automatically sets the input level for you. And so I am typically skeptical of gimmicks like that, but I think bare minimum, the smart gain function is at least an easy way to get you started. So where I think this is super helpful is in the drummer world. So I'm actually about to get a drum set back in this corner. No one ever comes over, so I'm just getting rid of the chair. No one likes me, so no one's ever in here. So I'm gonna get rid of the chair. I'm gonna get a drum set, mic it up, the whole shebang. Where smart gain is really cool is I can hit smart gain, hit all the inputs. So let's just say I have 8 drum mics. I can hit all the inputs and it'll listen to all the mics on the drum set, and after 20 seconds, it'll set auto levels. And so bare minimum, that's at least a place to start. You might tweak and finagle them a little bit, but it's at least gets you off the ground floor and just gets you a starting place. So I think that's a really, really cool feature. This MV7 that I'm using, it's a Shure MV7. I'm using it through this interface, and I use the Smart Gain function to set up for this video. And so I didn't touch it, I didn't adjust the levels, it just automatically did it for me. And so that's what you're hearing right now. It's a mic going through the Evo, set up with the Smart Gain function. So that's a really cool feature. I don't know how many interfaces have something like that, but the last two that I've owned don't. And so that's really cool to me. As far as the functionality on the screen, you can change what metering you see. You can change it to inputs, your digital inputs and outputs, just your main volume. So it's very easy to toggle through that. And then there's the function button. So like with most interfaces, there's a button that you can kind of assign it to do multiple things. And so the function button can be set up as a dimmer. It can be set up as an alt speaker toggle. It can be set up as a mono thing, makes your mix mono. It can be set up as a talkback function. And so I'm currently using it as a dim feature. I like to mix and work on music at 2 volumes and 2 volumes only. That way my ears are always staying in the right relative space. And so I'll create music at a louder level, and then when I'm mixing, I'll hit the dim feature and then mix at a softer level, like you really should be doing. So it's a little loud when I'm making music, but when I mix, I want it soft so I can hear when things are poking out and just have a more holistic approach to the mix. So the one gripe that I have with this interface is there is only one function button. And so that's not enough to go, oh, I'm not gonna get this thing. But it is a bummer that if I had 2 sets of speakers and I also wanted to use the dim feature, and I also wanna track some people and be able to use the talkback function, I'm kind of limited on what I can do there. And so that's my only gripe. It's minor. Luckily, none of those problems exist for me because I'm not tracking other people in here. Typically, it's just me, and I only have 1 set of monitors. But I could see how if that might be a roadblock for someone if they have 2, 3 sets of speakers, they're tracking people. There might be some finagling of the settings you have to do session to session so that function button works the way that you want it to. And so there are some workarounds in the software that we'll talk about in a second. But if you never want to open the software and you're just using the hardware, that can be annoying. Again, it doesn't affect me, and it probably won't affect most people, but that is one limitation that I see when I've used this, is just that. And so outside of that, the only thing we haven't talked about on the hardware side is your headphone outs, which they're headphone outs. Every interface has one of those. They don't, you probably shouldn't own it. So has 2 headphone outs, so you can set up different mixes. We'll look at that in the software, but you can set up different mixes for those headphones through Q mixes. And so you get 2 of those, which is really helpful. All right, so the software's hit or miss for me. I typically, some software for interfaces just suck and I can't stand them. This one's actually really straightforward and very easy to use. And so, you have all your basic, inputs, your output levels. If you want to expand to see your optical inputs and outs, you can, which is awesome. And then you have your Q mixes. So you have your master here, you have your Q mixes that you can set up. So I could say I want more of this for QA, but QB, I just want a little bit. So very easy to set up separate mixes if you are recording multiple people in your world. So these are the buttons, really kind of the functionality that function button has. And so when I talked about a workaround for the function button, you can do some of that stuff in here. And so if you wanted to have your function button set up as a dim button, but then you wanted to also do a talkback, you could do talkback in here. You could toggle your alt speakers through here. You could do your mono speakers here. And so that is a workaround. Again, having to have the software open is kind of a bummer if you want to do multiple things. But, no interface is perfect. Again, that's a small gripe. That's not a big deal for me. And then you have your settings. This is basically just your routing. You know, if you wanted to send your cue mixes to each headphone pair, you would do it this way. And so very, very straightforward, very easy. You can set, you know, how much the dim, how much it dims your volume when you hit the dim button. Alt speakers, you can set the volume here. And so very, very straightforward. I love that there's just not a ton of gimmicks in here. It's just very straightforward. You can name these if you want. And so, yeah, I honestly really have enjoyed this interface. I think it's really just, it's clean, it's great, it's awesome, it's good to look at, it's on an eyesore, it's simple, it's easy to use, it's functional. It's got all the functionality and expandability as far as just recording, you know, multiple people. And so I do really like this thing. Like I said, you know, I'm not making any money from them to post this video. I'm just giving my honest thoughts. And I've had some bad interfaces. That's why I asked for this one in the first place. I did not like the last one I had, which I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to be unfair to them. But I just didn't like the last one I had. And so this interface really is awesome. I'll link the product below so you can go check it out. As always, thanks for following. Thanks for liking and subbing and sharing and all the things that y'all do. And I'll see y'all later.